Well, good day, viewers. It's new tool time. I just received this 10-ton hydraulic axle shaft puller hub remover in in the mail, and it's for pushing CV shafts or axle shafts out of a seized wheel bearing or rusted in wheel bearing. I had one the other day on a Ford Escape on the back, and I couldn't get the axle out. So I ended up buying an axle shaft and a wheel bearing. I'll show you what the alternatives are, and we're going to try setting this up and using it on that axle shaft that I couldn't get apart. I seriously doubt it will do it, but we'll give it a try and see how it works. So here is the axle in question I tried to get apart the other day. Again, this spline shaft wouldn't come out of the wheel bearing assembly, so I ended up pulling the entire axle out as an assembly and putting it in the press. And my press was 20 tons and I couldn't move it. I even tried heating around here and several times, and I filled this area with penetrating fluid and left it sitting now for probably 10 days. So that may have freed it up or released it somewhat, but we'll give it a try anyways. So I've got the axle wheel bearing mounted in the vise, like as if it was mounted on the vehicle. I like this flange. It's really got nice heavy quality casting or forged steel here. This is hydraulic, so there's a ram that goes on the end here, a button that goes on the end, so I put some dielectric grease on it, and we're going to put this in here and see what happens. So I've got this hand threaded in tight here, and now we just tighten this up. It's supposed to produce 10 tons of force. It's not moving. I don't know if it's wishful thinking or is it actually moving. I'm watching it, the bearing at the other end. I'm going to set up so you can see the other end here. I'm almost at the end of the travel here, but if it does move in somewhat, you could release it and thread this in some further. So we'll set up so you can see what's happening at the other end here. So this is where we want to watch to see if there's any movement there. I don't think so. I can't turn this by hand anymore. I'm going to stop and I'm going to get a pry bar to keep this wheel from turning, or this hub from turning. Okay, so I got a screwdriver to hold it. Is that moving? It almost looks like it's starting to move. That space widening between there, or is it just wishful thinking? It is quite a bit of force to push on this axle shaft. What would make this tool better is if there was some way you could hit the end of it and shock it when there's pressure on it like that. Well, I'm going to release it and see if I can gain some threads on this. Holy smokes, I can't release it. So I managed to release it and then thread it in some more. Now I'm tightening up the hydraulic screw on here again. Yeah, it would be good if there was a means of hitting this thing with a hammer, because I'm sure it would come now with this kind of pressure on it. I'm swearing that gap is opening up somewhat. Well, I don't think it's budging. It's going to see if I can gain any more travel on this main screw here by backing off the hydraulic piston. This little screw pushes in a hydraulic piston. So I backed it off, and I can't turn this any further in. So it hasn't moved. This tool definitely has the right idea. It's putting 10 tons of force on that, but I tried it in the press with my hydraulic press is close to 20 tons and it didn't move. I can't move any, can't get it any tighter. It looks like it's shifting. I'm going to tap it in here with a mallet. See if we can gain any more. I don't want to hit the end of this because it'll likely damage that screw. And I'm sure you're not supposed to tap on this tool. Well, so much for 10 tons. It does look like it's coming out slightly, but I think that's probably just wishful thinking. Wow, I can't get that any more tighter. One more tap. No, I don't see it moving. I don't see it cracking loose inside here. So I've tried for several minutes now, and although it's not working, this thing puts a tremendous amount of force. And in its defense, I put this in the press and I put 20 tons on the end of that axle shaft and it wouldn't move. It kind of looks like it's cracking loose, but I can't get it to move. I even tried tapping on here with a mallet and a drift like that. You don't want to hit on this because it's going to mushroom the end of that screw. So the note to the guys that designed this tool: need a longer handle here and a heavier anvil, and if you could hit this somehow, and the shock might break it loose. But it didn't work on this axle shaft anyways. I'm sure it'll work on other ones that aren't quite as tight. Like I said, I had this in the press with 20 tons on it and it wouldn't move, so this is only supposed to be 10 tons. So here's what I traditionally tried, and of course I stripped the threads on this thing. Of course it bolts on to 3 of the wheel nuts. I tried this puller as well, but it's too big for the application. In other words, the arms won't fit on here properly. It would probably do it, as the screw is much heavier duty, but I couldn't get it over the ears properly. So I ended up damaging 2 of the holes here with the wheel nuts because I didn't use flat wheel nuts. I used these with the end on them, so they spread the holes. That one's okay, but this one you can see it spread into the next hole adjacent here, so that's going to cause a problem putting it onto a different bolt pattern now. But this thing does produce a tremendous amount of torque, but not quite enough to release this seized axle. Has the right idea, but not quite enough oomph. So I put washers on all of those nuts to keep it from spreading, and that stopped it somewhat. And I tried again, and now when I took it out, there was oil leaking out of here. So like the seal let go. It's screwed all the way in now. Let's screw it all the way in. And the plunger doesn't come out anymore. That's the end of the travel. And the plunger's not coming out. And it's not retracting either. So either the seal let go in there. Anyways, I'm going to call this a fail. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of the company that I bought it from and see if they'll do anything for me. Because this thing is no good anymore. They'll probably tell me I wasn't supposed to hit it with a hammer. Oh well.